5 days into the new year brings us the start of a new season as conference play in the CAA tips off in Boston. Tonight it's the Northeastern Huskies and the Blue Hens of Delaware as they look to begin 2024 on a winning note here on NESN. Hi everybody, welcome to the Cabot Center alongside John Avino. I'm Alex Vispoli. We'll check in with our sideline reporter Mike Puzangara in just a little bit. Well, both of these squads really are happy to see 2023 in the rearview mirror. They ended on a 5-game losing streak.
Yeah, conference play could not have come sooner for either one of these two teams. Happy to turn the calendar to 2024. Happy to have the conference slate here to go, and it should be an exciting game to get the season started.
We're going to focus in on the post players in our matchup here tonight. For Northeastern, Deja Bristol is somebody who's really turned a corner for the Huskies.
Yeah, the first ever 6th player of the year in program history has stepped up this year into an even bigger role. She's been fantastic at both ends of the floor, and she will have her hands full tonight, but should be a force offensively.
Well, Delaware, like Northeastern, a little bit short-handed, so the Blue Hens are really going to rely on their 5th-year player, Clark Sconiers.
Yeah, the ability and the tenure and all the maturity of what she brings to the table at both ends of the floor. She paces this team in field goal percentage, but also in blocks per game. Could give some Deja Bristol some fits.
For more on this matchup, we'll turn things over to the third member of our crew as Mike earlier caught up with Northeastern's head coach, Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd.
Coach, thanks for joining us this evening, and Happy New Year. We enter the conference schedule. What's your assessment of the team as you enter the CAA portion of the year?
Yeah, our team, they're working really hard. We're trying to get healthy, but in the midst of who we do have, they're working really hard, trying to play more together and really locking on defense. Facing
Delaware today, first CAA opponent of the year, what do you expect from the Blue Hens?
I expect them to come out with a lot of energy. They're a really aggressive team. They're a tough team, so we have to be ready to match their aggressiveness and be ready to attack them as well.
Awesome. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. Always appreciate it. Northeastern and Delaware is coming up next on NESN.
This is where everything starts. It's a place of new beginnings, new opportunities, and a new identity. We are the Coastal Athletic Association, and from the beaches to the city streets, we are united to succeed at an elite level, in competition, in our communities, in our lives. This is the tide that lifts us, the fire that burns inside all of us. This is our moment, our new chapter. We are the CAA, and we are united in excellence.
My name is Tremaine Shaw, and I'm the head coach in the cross-country and track and field programs at Northeastern University. I cannot stress enough how important it is for female athletes to be given the supports, to be given the opportunities. I was really impressed by the commitment City of Boston Credit Union has made to female student athletes. The more exposure that's given, the more a young woman will be influenced to continue down this path.
City of Boston Credit Union, today's teammates, tomorrow's leaders.
Starting lineups just announced here at the Cabot Center, and there you see Deja Bristol leading the charge for the Huskies as they play their conference opener against the Blue Hens of the University of Delaware. We take a look at the head-to-head, and both these teams have had different issues. For Northeastern, it's been scoring. For Delaware, they've had some concerns with stopping opposing offenses.
Yeah, the Huskies are hoping to maybe right some of their wrongs offensively tonight against the defense of the Delaware Blue Hens that comes in third to last right now in the non-conference portion of the season as far as defense is concerned. But both of these teams are going to be a little bit short here tonight, so it could make for an interesting matchup.
This is the preseason poll worth revisiting with the conference season about to get underway. These squads picked 3rd and 4th in the Coastal Athletic Association prior to this season getting started. They have not gotten off to the kind of starts that they would like. Northeastern at 4 and 6, Delaware at 4 and 8, and both, John, extremely banged up. Only 9 players available for each team.
Yeah, the record's reset tonight, though, with the new year and with the conference schedule finally here. So both teams are going to look to get their CAA schedule started on the right foot. You talk about some of the players that each of these teams were missing. One glaringly obvious omitted player there is Jemima Motema, who makes a lot of this offense go. But Darren Ardoin and the rest of this group is going to have to pick up the slack.
You see Yersi Kelis, the freshman, making her first career start there in the 5 for head coach Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd. For Sarah Jenkins in her 2nd year leading Delaware, this is her starting 5, and a notable name not in there, Tara Cousins, one of the captains who has had a breakout season. She's the leading scorer for the Blue Hens, not available tonight. And in her place, Grace Sunback will be making her debut in the starting lineup. And the game will start with a technical foul because of a scoreboard issue here at the Cabot Center. And Chloe Wilson will take a technical foul free throw. And before we have the opening tip-off, it's 1-0 Delaware.
I thought this was a new CAA rule maybe this year where each team gets a turn to take a free throw, but yeah, we were just informed that there is some sort of scoreboard malfunction. I cannot see from my perspective what it would be, because everything that we normally look up at or down at is currently operating as far as I could tell, but obviously something was not. And, our producer / director, Michael Graziano, telling us it has to do with the shot clock, so we'll see if that plays a factor.
And indeed, the shot clock gets off to a little bit of a slower start, but we are off and underway. Northeastern in the white, Delaware appropriately in the blue. So glad to have you along on this Friday night first matchup of the new year for these squads. Maddie Visa, who's been a big three-point scorer. Here's Darren Erdwan, leading scorer for Northeastern, gets it batted away. Shot clock is down to 5 as Kaliza's pass is tipped away by Wilson, and Northeastern has 4 seconds to work with an inbound pass.
Well, a good defensive start here for the Blue Hens. We just mentioned a moment ago, they do give up a lot of points per game, but this opening possession so far so good.
Deja Bristol gives it up, but it's knocked out of bounds. Last touch by Northeastern as Maddie Visa was not on the same page as her teammates, and so Delaware forces the turnover, and the Blue Hens get their first chance with the basketball tonight.
Maddie Visa will be somebody I'm looking at tonight with a couple players out for Northeastern, somebody that they might want to see about stepping up scoring-wise, see if they can get her a couple early open looks.
Mia Yanagacio goes baseline and then steps on it. So both teams turn it over their opening possession. It's been an issue for both of these squads. Northeastern turns it over 18 times a game. Delaware just below them at 17.9 turnovers per contest. And both are underwater when it comes to the margin, as there's a block by Sconyers. And now here comes Delaware off and running. Wilson spinning, gives it up. Yanagacio on the baseline gives Delaware the first points.
Confident pull there from Yanagacio, the junior baseline jumper in rhythm. A good job to set that up there by Wilson in transition.
Delaware had a short flight up to Boston, just 50 minutes. And they'll have to contend with the weather that's creeping up this way tomorrow. Erdwan just behind the free throw line, and Darren Erdwan, the senior from Istanbul, Turkey, averaging just under 14 points a game. Coming off her second highest scoring game of the season against Boston University. That was before Christmas. It's been 2 weeks since Northeastern played its last game. That was an 83-80 overtime loss to the Terriers. Wilson goes to work on Erdwan, faces the double team, and a help defense by Bristol forces another turnover. Here's Yersi Kalis from the Dominican Republic, out to Erdwan. And the rebound from Clark Sconyers.
Now you see Erdwan there. She's the point guard of this team, obviously. She still leads them in assists, but she's also their leading scorer, and you're going to need to see a lot more of that probably as the CAA season goes on. Always looking for her shot.
Wilson, who transferred in from Fairleigh Dickinson, another turnover. Delaware 3-2 lead because of the technical foul free throw before the game got started. Kalis, too strong. Rebounded by Wilson, senior from Freeport, New York. She was one of the best players for Fairleigh Dickinson in the NEC last year. Comes over and has been a little bit up and down. It's been a team that hasn't been at full strength really at any point this season. Northeastern can relate a lot to that, and so teams that are having similar issues finish the 2023 part of the calendar on a losing streak. Here's a three by Orlai Kiefer that won't go.
Yeah, both teams on a 5-game losing streak coming into the new year. Obviously, they both like to get off the schneid here tonight.
Sconyers facing the double team. Has to give it up. Yanagacio, it's stolen by Visa. Quick hands. And now Northeastern. Kalis from Erdwan. And Northeastern takes its first lead.
Kalis is somebody that Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd is looking at to get a little bit more out of, especially with Motema out. She's in the starting lineup for the first time in her 11-game career. Gets her first bucket there.
Double team comes, giving it up to Sunback, and she'll go to the free throw line for an opportunity to pick up her first collegiate points.
Take another look at that pass by Erdwan in transition. Wilson there defensively, but 2-on-1, and it was a little bit of a no-look bounce there. And Khalees able to finish off the window with ease. And now Sunback, as you mentioned a moment ago, her first career free throw attempts, a chance to enter in the collegiate score sheet for the first time.
5'9" freshman from Staten Island. She was a 2A first-team All-State player when she was at Westtown School. And talk about a heck of a way to make your college debut. Mid-season conference opener and in the starting five. 1 for 2 at the line, and Northeastern will take it after it was tipped out of bounds by Delaware. Nakia Mays-Prince will come on as Sunback takes a spot on the bench. Mays-Prince, a sophomore from Chicago, averaged just over 6 points a game last year, averaging under 3 in limited action this season. We talked with Sarah Jenkins. She says her team is still getting its footing here with so many moving parts. Erdwan, lane opens up and she lays it in with a left hand. Darren Erdwan has 4 points for the Huskies, who lead by 2.
A little bit of a ball and head fake there. They got the defense moving a little bit. She blew right by.
Jump pass. Sydney Boone lets it fly. Neither team is connected from downtown yet. You know, it's something that Erdwan, she just has a real crafty nature to her game when it comes to head fakes, ball fakes. You know, those are really, smoothed out parts of her game without a doubt.
Yeah, and there's some of those things that coaches will talk about. You can't teach that necessarily. You can maybe instruct players to feed into what they do best, but that's just a natural ability for her. As Visa tried to cut through there, had to go through her hands. She's somebody, I mentioned this off the top, but they'd like to get her going in a big way now. Her points can come in big volume from beyond the arc if she hits a couple early shots.
And she tied her own program record for 3-pointers in a game with 7 back in November in a win against Wagner. Jalen Batts entered at the last whistle for Northeastern as we get a foul on the floor against the Huskies, Holly Aduwu. Aduwu, senior from Illinois, in her second year with the program after transferring in from Toledo.
Playing a little less minutes this year, but he's still been an important piece, and I'm sure those minutes will go up here as the conference schedule trudges on.
A bit of a fumble from Mays-Prince, gets rid of it to Sconyers, and she'll go to the free throw line. And that's going to be the second on Khalees, and notable because she's the one who's taken over that starting position for Jemima Motema. So the Huskies have a player with 2 fouls, and Delaware will be at the free throw line, a chance to tie this game up early in Boston.
As I've watched Alex, you can tell looking at him that he has that focus, that dedication, that expectation of being a success.
I'm always proud to put that jersey on. I'm honestly honored to represent my country.
That's our culture, is to have the uncomfortable conversations and be comfortable in the uncomfortable.
I think it was the best day of my life. I've never really won anything like that before. I've never thrown my gloves on the ice like that.
Like, no doubt in my mind, she is so strong and nothing was going to stop her.
When Rafael Devers got over to third, it was kind of just awesome. I've been watching him for years now, and he's one of my favorite players.
I'm sure there was a day Kat thought, I'm never going to be able to play soccer again.
For me, this has just been a really good fit. My family is from this area. My wife's family's from this area. And Northeastern's never given me a reason why I would look anywhere else.
CAA champions are built by commitment, dedication, and courage. CAA champions live on the court, on the pitch, on the track, on the field, and in the pool. CAA champions live on Flow Sports.
Back at the Cabot Center with John Avino and Mike Puzangara. Alex Vespoli here with you. And we talked about Yersi Khalise making the start here tonight, having to do so because of Jemima Motema not being available. Orlai Kiefer has also seen her role grow here as of late. These are players that are starting to get in the feel of things. And for head coach Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd, she'd love it if they show a huge amount of maturity as we get into conference season.
Yeah, she mentioned to us this week, it's just a reality that we're all coming to grips with, that we may not be full strength the rest of the way, and some of these younger players that have been thrust into bigger roles are going to have to continue to play them. And obviously, two of them have done a good job. With Kiefer, she started 3 games, now 4 games this season. After not starting at all last year, her minutes have gone up quite a bit as well. And for Khalise, even since the beginning of the season, we've seen her trust level go up here with Coach Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd. And I think even from the beginning, Khalise was somebody that she trusted a lot as a freshman.
Sconyers hit them both, 74% free throw shooter, and a really heads-up play. Marion Turnbull caught in a trap there, throws it off the leg of a Delaware defender. Turnbull, sophomore from Pittsburgh, played in 18 games last year off the bench. She's been sporadically used this year. Figures to see a bigger role now with the depth being tested of this team.
You can pretty much say that about everybody now.
Northeastern rides Erdwan heavy minutes throughout the game. Figure they're going to rely on her quite a bit. Bristol working on Sconyers. Can't get the roll, and the rebound by Dariana Howard.
That was a great take there by Bristol. Just unlucky there, really, more than anything.
A 3 ball. It's in and out from Sydney Boone. Rebounded by Erdwan. Jalen Batts, this is her bread and butter, this shot, but not true this time. Offensive rebound, saved by Bristol, and now Northeastern a second bite at the apple. And a travel called on Erdwan.
A little too quick for her own good there. Another one of those ball fakes that we've seen her so accustomed to creating and driving with, but she could not get her ball on the ground before the feet started moving.
Erdwan started off her college career at the University of Arizona, left to pursue more playing time. She wants to play professionally overseas, and saw the opportunity for that with a starting role. Northeastern under former head coach Bridgette Mitchell said, we've got a role for you, and she's hardly come off the floor now in her 2 seasons here on Huntington Ave. Sunback. Back into the game, high off the window, tipped around and saved by Wilson. Goes hard into Bristol and leaves it short. And this is out off Batts' hand. And with 16 seconds, plenty of time for Delaware to try and reclaim the lead.
Batts plays with a ton of energy all the time. Sometimes it can be a little bit the opposite of what you'd like. That one there, maybe trying to go for a rebound that she should have just let go. She did scrape it at the end.
Mays Prince over to Sunback. In the corner, a 3 is in and out off the hands of Rebecca Demeke. Another offensive rebound. Wilson, Sunback, left wing 3, no. And yet another pull in by Delaware. Here's Mays Prince, and she gets it to go, and the foul. Nakaya Mays Prince, and well, just so much relentlessness by Delaware on the offensive boards. That's something that Northeastern's got to try and prevent those extra opportunities.
Yeah, certainly, because Delaware hadn't had a field goal in about 5.5 minutes, and they finally get one there after all of those offensive rebounds. And we're going to have, I don't know if they're going to be looking at this. They're over at the monitor now. Both teams have huddled up near their benches, and they are reviewing this.
So Erdwan called for her first, and Mays Prince to go to the free throw line and looking to check out the contact on that play. See Cynthia Doe, one of the officials, joining Kevin Sparrock and Bobby Ray. This is what they're looking at.
Yeah, they're looking at that
the push there at the end.
Trying to see if there's any ill intent there. And I mean, it's so tough sometimes in the heat of the play and in what looks like a pushing motion. And obviously there is a nudge there, but what do they say and what do they warrant as too much of a clear pushing motion? And the referees who were looking at this come away from the replay monitor after about a minute or so.
So it'll stay a common foul, won't be any change. And the foul came before that shot went in.
So the basket is still up on the scoreboard.
For now, they're going to keep the 2 points for Mays Prince. And under the basket, Wilson facing tough contact scores. And Delaware has a 4-point lead.
Yeah, they hadn't had a field goal in about 5.5 minutes, and they get 2 for the price of 1 there on that trip because of the foul happening as the ball was in the air.
Not to mention all those extra opportunities because of the offensive rebounds. Visa and Northeastern needed that. 3 ball for Maddie Visa. It's her 23rd made 3 of the season. That puts her in the top 10 in the CAA.
Yeah, she averages just over 2 per game, and that's really, when you talk about Maddie Visa, that's what she does. She spots up. You can't let her get too much space.
Mays Prince back out to Wilson. Delaware playing without its leading scorer, Tara Cousins, as a travel whistled against the Blue Hens. And you can see even Demeke not playing at 100% with that left hand all bandaged up, but Maddie Visa, when Northeastern needed it, cashes in from 3.
Yeah, you feel good about that. Only 6 points on the board prior to that.
Oh, defender hits the deck. Jalen Batts misses the jumper. And it's Mays Prince who does get up on her own power, but looks like she'll stay in the game.
Yeah, both coaches, anytime they see anybody hit the deck, are going to hold their breath for a little longer here. That was a hard screen, clean screen it looked like there by Bristol.
I mean, that's a huge size difference. Mays Prince is 5'5", smallest player out there on the floor. Deja Bristol 6'1", and makes a living in the post.
That couldn't have felt good, but she stays in for now, although now she's off the floor.
Again, these teams do not have a lot of depth available, just 9 healthy bodies for each squad. Mays Prince comes right back and knocks down the 3. Here's a good way to get back and say, I can take a hit and thrive.
I thought she left the floor. I was wrong, and she made me pay for it there.
And a little bump. See if this is on Mays Prince. It will be her first personal foul as Erdwan absorbed the bump.
That's the first foul of the quarter and the game against Delaware, so they've done a really nice job of staying contained. Just taking another look at that knockdown from 3 there. Mays Prince, just her 4th made 3 of the season on 13 attempts, so not a ton of attempts from out there.
Dump it off, Batts fakes the shot, gives it out, Orelai Kiefer. And a rebound by Dariana Howard. On the move, Demeke, too strong. Maddie Visa the rebound. And here's Northeastern up and down the floor. Batts finally gets one to go.
You mentioned a moment ago, that's her bread and butter. Jalen Batts is so lethal when she gets in that paint area on that jumper, mostly because she just hangs around in the air forever and then shoots a line drive that's really tough to defend.
Really soft touch on those shots as well. Allows her to kind of rise above the chaos sometimes. There's a nifty find, and Howard finishes. Sydney Boone with the great dime.
Excuse me, Alex. Dariana Howard, another freshman, making an impact as Erdwan has no problem getting right to the rim again. The offense starting to pick up here in the final couple minutes.
A couple of times Delaware defenders have been on skates. Falling down to the floor. Final 20 seconds, a 3, banked in. Chloe Wilson. And another fall by a Delaware defender. That was Wilson, and Holly Aduwu takes advantage.
Excuse me, Alex. It's turned into a track meet quickly.
But Delaware in particular wants to get up and go. They need to do it here. A 3-ball for Boone. It's a little bit short, and Delaware will take a 3-point lead into the quarter break. Offense starting to open up over the last few minutes. 18-15 as Erdwan sidesteps the defense to get the Huskies a little closer. With the Howland Huskies flag.
Really fun. Wasn't expecting that. Welcome back inside the Cabot Center where Delaware leads Northeastern 18-15 at the end of the first quarter. Mike Kuzengare here. Thanks for joining us tonight on Nesson. Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd and Sarah Jenkins might be facing off for the first time as head coaches tonight, but theirs is a relationship that goes back many years. The two of them talk every day and are very close friends. Well, how did that relationship start? Well, it was born out of seeing each other at scouting events throughout the years, working as assistants, trying to even recruit some of the same players. It was strengthened over years of overlap in the Big East. Jenkins was an assistant at Georgetown, her alma mater, between 2014 and 2017, and during that time, Edwards-Lloyd had stops at St. John's and Providence. Edwards-Lloyd told us that it seems only fitting the two of them ended up in the same conference with their first head coaching jobs. As she described it, guys, two coaches that were grinding in the business at the same time, working as young assistants, and now rising at the same time, too. Back up to you.
Yeah, it's a really great relationship that they have, and you know, they were able to give each other a hard time when they need to, and but obviously very close and very happy for one another. And you know, for Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd, her first game in the CAA as head coach comes against her close friend Sarah Jenkins, and Coach Jenkins told us she wants to welcome her to the conference with a loss. And there is a good way to get that underway as Rebecca DeMecke knocks down the three, and it's a 6-point Delaware lead.
Yeah, it was funny, Alex, because you asked about that and if they are still communicating this week specifically with the lead up to the game against one another, and they both had said yes, and specifically Coach Jenkins mentioned, is they're going to call a 3-second violation here against Northeastern and Halia Duru, but Sarah Jenkins had told us that she just hopes she doesn't beat her tonight, and right now Delaware up 6 as we begin quarter number 2.
And it, unfortunately, won't be too many more potential meetings. They do face each other twice this year, but in a couple of years, Delaware will be joining Conference USA, and so they will not be a part of the Coastal Athletic Association. So I'm sure that these two will soak up their matchups as the three won't go. Kiefer and Batts knock it around. And it will be Delaware basketball. You know, in that first quarter, John, the rebounds told a big story. 12-6 in favor of the Blue Hens, including those 5 offensive rebounds. And I think about 4 of them came on 1 possession.
Yeah, I think that Delaware has said a lot about themselves. They have as many offensive rebounds as Northeastern does, period, so far in this game. And I think that shows their hustle and tenacity. They've stolen a couple points here in this game. They're grinding it out on the road here early.
That's what you got to do, conference game. Both teams not playing with a full roster is driving to the basket. Sydney Boone gets her first points, and Boone's been impressive with not only that bucket there, but some of her passing as well.
Yeah, she's really been a revelation coming over from Fairleigh Dickinson after a couple of years, averaging a career high in points, 11.5 a game. Foul called here at the other end of the floor.
It's on Chloe Wilson, who is already off to a better start in this game than the last 2, as Erdwan calls for it from Batts and then has to scramble to track down the loose ball.
There's probably only 2 players on the floor you'd want to make that pass with, and Batts and Erdwan are the 2 of them.
Kelly's in there with 2 fouls. Quick touch pass over to Bristol under the basket with contact, and she'll go to the line.
Well, that's going to be 2 straight here. Oh, no, they didn't get Wilson on it. That's my fault. They got Sconiers instead, so Wilson escapes there without a second straight foul. But Delaware, this was not an issue for them in that first quarter at all. They only had 1 foul, and already 2 here in the first minute and a half of quarter number 2. Free throw percentage is something that Northeastern would like to improve as the season goes on. They're sitting just under 64%, 11th best in the non-conference in the CAA.
And Bristol was a big reason why the free throw percentage was as low as it was to start the year. It's gotten better because, you know, that was a rare miss lately here from Deja Bristol. Prior to this trip for the line, she had hit 10 of her last 11 free throws as she splits this pair, and it just goes to what her head coach Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd talked about with us, is that she's really focused her mentality and her emotions and gotten into a much better routine at the free throw line. As there's a darting Wilson, and she scores on the move. 8 points for Wilson. She had 7 total points in her last 2 games.
Great job by Boone to break that press. It was a great job by Northeastern's defense there for a few moments.
And now a risky pass stolen by Sconiers. Wilson again. And that'll cause a timeout to be taken by Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd. Chloe Wilson kind of fooled everybody on Northeastern as to where that pass was going. And they fake out the Huskies, and it's been a great start to this second quarter. Delaware up 9-1 since the change of quarters and leading by 11 on the road in Boston. Well, right now, Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd trying to do some damage control because things have not been going great as of late. This is the way Northeastern season started. Pretty good. They were 4-1 in their first 5 games, held their own on the board, shot extremely well despite not scoring a ton. That's how it started, and this is how it's going the last 5 games. Offense has not been there. Injuries have set in. They have not been able to really get in sync. They've been really pummeled on the board, something that's continued tonight, and Delaware is taking advantage here in the second quarter, John.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a continuation of the trend from the last 5 games for Northeastern so far. 16 points in the first 12-plus minutes, but the really big thing that you just mentioned, 13-6 on the glass right now in favor of Delaware, more than double the rebounds from the Huskies. And I mentioned this just before we went to the break. Delaware alone has 6 offensive rebounds, so they've matched the Huskies' total rebounding number just at the offensive end. It's led to some second-chance points, 4 of them. The bench has come and done a good job for Delaware as well, in a game that we know is going to have a lot of depth from both sides, or short depth from both sides, going to need everybody who's out there.
Interception by Chloe Wilson to go along with her 10 points, but then she throws it away for Sydney Boone. So Northeastern catches a little bit of a break there when they were moving in transition. You know, it's a Delaware team that plays a lot of different defenses. It's something that Sarah Jenkins likes to have, and she'll change on the fly. And sometimes, you know, you're not always on the same page with who's covering what, as this is knocked away by Sunback. And those are the spots that Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd says maybe we can attack when they're not on the same page. Haven't been able to find too many of those tonight, though.
No, there's a little bit of a run during that track meet portion late in that first quarter where Northeastern was getting up the floor quickly and breaking whatever defense Delaware tried to set up.
Erdwan way off on the 3, and a rebound by Wilson. Another board for the Blue Hens, trying to snap their 5-game losing streak. But here's a travel. 7th turnover by the Blue Hens. Northeastern is shooting 44%, Delaware 50%, but Delaware's got 4 extra field goal attempts to this point.
Yeah, Chloe Wilson, that's already her 4th turnover too. She comes in leading the team on the season, something that she'd like to cut down on, especially with the ball in her hands a lot.
Kelly's Erdwan alone in the corner, a 3! Darren Erdwan, 9 of Northeastern's 19 points.
Well, she paces them on threes, 2.5 a game, or 25th from downtown this season, and they're going to need some points. It's obviously still the first half. Don't have to make it up all now.
Oh, that's pretty from Clark Sconyers, her first field goal. Delaware back up by double digits. Under 6.5 to go before halftime. And that's a knockaway by Wilson. And Sarah Jenkins trying to lobby for the call to go her way.
That was very funny. She had a very good interaction with the referee down there in front of the bench, and then the most wry, short smile you'll see. She was trying to vie for the fact that Visa had touched that.
Erdwan just had the 3. She is the engine for Northeastern's offense. Batts takes a bump, spots up, takes contact, and she will go to the free throw line. Clark Sconyers will be whistled for her 2nd personal.
This is something that Jalen Batts can do and will do, because it will earn her trips to the line as well, because she hangs around on her jumper so long in the air. She's so athletic, and sometimes the closeout comes and the defender can sometimes foul even when the play is almost over, and that was a little bit later in the shooting motion there on the foul, but Batts heads to the line and knocks down the first.
Batts played her first 3 seasons at Boston College, then transferred across town. Has been in and out of the lineup to this season because of injury, and something that they're hoping that she can be available, not only health-wise, but also she's been in foul trouble every single game she's played in. Against BU, she picked up the unusual 6 fouls because she picked up a technical after she fouled out.
That was such an interesting sequence, too, while you were talking about that. She ran over the bench between free throws, seemed to throw a hair tie to Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd, and it looked like Grace Sunback said to her on the way back, now you're going to miss the 2nd. She made it anyway.
Made it an 8-point game, but now it's a foul by Delaware, and Rebecca DeMeke, offensive foul.
Yeah, there wasn't much of a signal there, but the Northeastern bench started erupting right away, so they felt like they had the call, and it is indeed an offensive foul. That's number 4 against Delaware here in the quarter. Roles have kind of been reversed. Northeastern does not have a foul yet here in the second quarter.
Bats slipped and then gets called for the travel. Northeastern commits its 7th turnover. Delaware has committed 8. We told you these teams, they like to play a little bit fast and loose with the basketball.
Yeah, turnovers are going to come with both of these teams. And you think about this Northeastern team and the style they play compared to last year, where they were really reckless and getting up and down the floor in a good way, and a lot of times it led to a lot of success.
Here's Michelle Ojo playing in just her 2nd game of the season. Ojo transferred from George Washington University prior to last season, and there's a slick find and finish. Deja Bristol on the feed from Erdwan.
First made field goal for Deja Bristol. You expect her to get a little bit more involved as this game continues.
Northeastern getting into a flow offensively, but Delaware's hit its last 5 shots until that miss spinning by Sydney Boone. Erdwan, short jumper, and she's in double figures, 11 points for Darren Erdwan.
That's a lethal part of her game as well. That stop and pop on the mid-range. She gets into the paint there. You can't defend it because you have to make sure you're defending the 2 runners with her. Now another turnover by Delaware. It's all starting to fall apart here in the second quarter. The big lead that Delaware had built up still holding true, but Northeastern starting to get back in it. It was once 11 points. And since then, Northeastern outscoring them 9-4.
Look at the shot by Erdwan that followed up the great pass that she got Bristol down close to the basket.
Now she flips the ball behind her, says you run the point, Yersi.
Northeastern's got 3 ball handlers out there with Kelly's, Visa, and Erdwan. And a perimeter big in Orlai Kiefer. They don't have a whole lot of bruising size, as this is over the outstretched arm of Kiefer. Mays Prince, 3-pointer in and out. Off the hand of Sunback, but a foul on Northeastern and Maddie Visa. That's the first team foul on the Huskies, and so they'll take it out under the basket. Sunback will sub out, and Demeke comes back in.
Yeah, it looks like right now Sunback are just trying to make sure that she can catch her breath a few times here, playing in and starting in her first career collegiate game after missing the non-conference portion of the season. So another breather for her here.
Whistle blew. I didn't
see. Said something about the shot clock again.
It was a little bit late to start. Had the shot clock issue to begin the game, which is why Delaware got a technical foul free throw. See if that 1 point comes back to bite Northeastern. Erdwan with the block on the smaller Mays Prince. And Northeastern comes up running. Jalen Batts out to Visa, left wing 3. It was way off. Saved by Kelly's, but into the hands of Ojo. Ojo gets it right back and gets blocked by Batts. Into the hands of Ojo again, and she's pummeled. Foul on Jalen Batts, who certainly wasn't going to let a cheapie go in. She earned that foul, and Ojo's going to the free throw line for the first time this season.
Yeah, you asked Coach about Batts and the way she plays, and if she's okay with some of the aggressive nature, and you love the tenacity defensively, you love the hustle. And she kind of jokingly said, I'm not okay with her fouling out, but obviously sometimes it comes with the nature of playing as aggressively as she does play. You'd like to see the blocks, you like to see the rebounding and what she can do defensively. That's just her first foul in 12 minutes. So far tonight, has done a good job of containing herself, but it sometimes costs her some minutes out there because she's in foul trouble.
Again, this is just the second game for Michelle Ojo. Spent her first season at George Washington. Last year played in 30 games, averaged 6.5 points a game. Sinks them both. It's an 8-point Delaware lead. They've led for most of the quarter by about that margin. They were up by 3 at the quarter break. Conference opener for both of these teams. Glad you could join us on this Friday night, eve before the first snowstorm of the season. 10 seconds to shoot. Kelly's lost it, but she was fouled. And that'll send Yersi Kelly's to the free throw line.
5 fouls now against Delaware, and Sarah Jenkins was not happy. The second that whistle was blown, she had quite the reaction, now having a discussion with one of our officials, but it will be free throws. Bonus situation here for the Huskies the rest of the quarter.
Yeah, she's having quite the conversation with Bobby Ray, giving her perspective on the foul. As Kelly's will go to the free throw line. She hasn't been there all that often this season, just 5 of 6. And somebody who, when we talked with how to replace Jemima Motema, Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd said, we just got to get Yersi to mature and grow, play at a high level quicker than maybe we anticipated. She had a role for the team prior to the injury, but certainly they need a lot more. And as we saw earlier, her role has grown as the season's gone on.
Yeah, she scored over 1,300 points in high school, so she's a player that they know can play at a high level. And as you said, it's just a little bit of an accelerated timeline as far as what her role may be here with some of the injuries.
First personal for Deja Bristol.
The Huskies have done a good job of staying out of foul trouble so far. They're spreading them out to this point. Elise has 2.
Mays Prince lobs it into Ojo. Bristol on her, and a travel. So Ojo will sub out. Dariana Howard comes back in for Delaware. 4-8 on the season. We asked Sarah Jenkins, what's the difference for you going into conference play this year versus your first year as a head coach last year? She said, the difference is last year I was 7-4, this year I'm 4-8, and that pretty much tells the difference of the team.
Yeah, she was very frank, so that's the obvious thing to look at here with the record being so different than it was in the non-conference portion of the season last year. They went 7-5 rather than 4-8, and I mean, obviously, coaches are going to throw those non-conference records out the door somewhat anyway once the conference season starts, but it is a good reflection point of what your team may become. But she talked a lot about having new groups and a lot of new faces within the program the last couple of years. And obviously does make it tough sometimes to get out to good starts.
Dariana Howard was called for that last personal. Northeastern trying to whittle the gap down as Batts makes 1 of 2. She's got 5 points. It's a Delaware program a couple of years ago. Was in the WNIT and then the NCAA tournament back-to-back seasons, as another travel against Delaware puts them up to 11 first-half turnovers. And right now the Blue Hens are their own worst enemy. The turnovers and the fouls are getting Northeastern back in this game.
Yeah, it's been a lot of turnovers on travels or unforced turnovers as well, which is something you really can't live with. You can take them sometimes when they happen in-game. Obviously, they could be more costly in-game, but still, you don't want it to happen to reset a possession.
Shot clock under 10 seconds. Wild attempt by Kelly's, chases down her own miss. Erdwan, marked by Demeke. Erdwan led Bristol a little too far, and that'll be Northeastern's 9th turnover. And a missed opportunity to get this to a 1-possession game.
Number 5 for Erdwan as well, and that's something that, you can see. We have a great vantage point of Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd right in front of us, and Erdwan, when she throws some of these passes that coach does not agree with, you can see it play out on her face in real time. That one right there, she knew there was a tough window to get it there on the bounce, trying to put a little spin on it.
Demeke finds Dariana Howard. Ball picked up by Mays Prince. Shot clock down to 6. Sunback can't get the roll. Offensive rebound, and Howard will go to the free throw line. Once again, the rebounding for Delaware, the trump card here, and a chance to extend the advantage.
Yeah, you want the remedy for a little bit of a scoring drought for Delaware. It's get to the free throw line with these offensive rebounds. They're 0 for their last 6, haven't scored in just over 2 minutes, but they'll have a chance to build their lead back up again because of more offensive rebounding. It didn't help that Deja Bristol hit the deck there on the drive and then could not get up in time to be a part of the rebounding effort.
Dariana Howard didn't play last time out against Harvard. That was a rough loss for Delaware. Tough way to close out the 2023 calendar. They lost 88-58. It was their first home game in 24 days and their first ever visit by Harvard. And we'll see if they're going to be inviting the Crimson back anytime soon. It was a 22-0 run by the Crimson in there. Howard hits them both. And Delaware was out of that game pretty early. Tonight playing without a couple of key contributors, not only Tara Cousins, but Andia Charisier, as there's Deja Bristol. Gets the Huskies back to within 5, and now is Delaware on the run, turned over. Demeke couldn't catch up with it.
Yeah, 12 turnovers now for the Blue Hens. You mentioned the 11th one a minute ago, and I mean, that's just well beyond their pace. They average 17.9, and they're already well more than halfway there here in this first half. And they have the 5-point lead, so it hasn't all been bad, but you wonder if they'd been a little bit more careful with the basketball, hadn't had as many travels here in this first half, what that lead might look like.
Well, since that 9-1 start by Delaware to begin the quarter, Huskies 14-8 advantage. It could be more. Kelly's gets it to a 2-point game. Yersi Kelly's three-pointer gives her 7 on the night.
Part of her game that she hasn't exactly flourished at yet.
And a steal by Erdwan. Stripped it out of Wilson's hands. Northeastern on the move. Bats! Too tall. Right over the cylinder. Huskies do get the 2 for 1. Mays Prince, Sunback, dumps it off. Howard, too strong. Loose on the floor, picked up again by Delaware and Mays Prince. No shot clock, Sunback through the lane. And now Northeastern will play for the final shot of the half. Gotta hurry though, 3 seconds. Erdwan for the lead, just off. And after 20 minutes, pretty entertaining first half here in Boston. Delaware's got a 2-point lead.
Yeah, and they finished the half without any field goals the last 5.5 minutes, 0 for their last 8. Northeastern gets themselves right back in the game here to end the half.
Darren Erdwan, once again the engine for the Northeastern offense, led all Huskies with 11 points. Chloe Wilson had 10 to lead all Blue Hens, and Delaware was up by as many as 11, but that was trimmed to 2. We'll have the call of the second half when we return to the Cabot Center in Boston. You're watching the CAA opener here on NESN. Taking place each August, the Pan Mass Challenge is a staple of the New England summer. Beginning in 1980, the Massachusetts-based Bikeathon donates 100% of proceeds directly to cancer research and the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. For Northeastern women's hockey assistant captain Abby Marone, the fundraiser provided the perfect outlet to match her love for biking with an opportunity to give back to a worthwhile cause.
Abby's someone that puts others before herself. She's always focused on the team as a whole. She's just a really great leader by example. She does things the right way. She doesn't cut corners. She's just a team-first mentality.
Abby is one of the kindest people I've ever met. She definitely has the Midwest charm. She's never had anything bad to say about anyone.
I think that Abby's on-ice play translates to her off-ice play. She's a very selfless player and person. She's always willing to block shots, sacrifice for the team, and that's the same as she is off the ice. She likes to put the team first. She's earned her position as an assistant captain this year.
Marone backpedals and scores! What a strike by Abby Marone!
Gwen and I just talked about doing a bike ride of some sort. I don't know how it got to going all the way to Provincetown, but it's just like, okay, let's go and do this bike trip on this weekend, because it was the only weekend that for us was both free.
Abby is always down to do fun things, and I knew she would say yes. Around that time, she'd also kind of gotten into biking. I told her like I was gonna plan everything, she just had to show up, and she was so on board.
I had heard about the PMC before, but never like, I didn't know what the weekend was. We knew it was around then, and then we start biking.
We get to like one of our first stops, and there's these signs everywhere cheering people on, saying like, thank you for your contributions, like you guys can do it. We eventually kind of figured out that we had hopped on board of this PMC thing.
We were getting passed by these pelotons of like people going like twice as fast as us, because we were just kind of cruising. And then, you know, you start seeing all those signs, seeing all the people. For me, I was like, I've had a lot of family members and friends that have gone through remission, and it really motivated me to do it this year. This is a huge impact, and I want to be a part of that.
The Pan Mass Challenge was started in 1980 by Billy Starr, and all the proceeds go to Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston. Over the years, they've raised, I believe, $900 million. In 2022, they raised nearly $70 million. So it's a really special event, something I'm very proud to have ridden in, and I'm proud of everyone that has ridden in it as well.
All the money, 100% of the proceeds that are raised go to cancer research. You know, it is a bikeathon, but it felt just like a community family event. There's no like, it's not a race, you know, we're all just doing it together. I can be competitive, even like with myself biking through the city. But with that, I just felt like, wow, we're all doing this together, and it was just like something bigger than us.
I feel like when you're in the event, you don't really realize how physically straining the event actually is. It's about 85 miles on day one, starting from Wellesley, so it's a far ride, but in the moment you don't feel like it is because you're surrounded by so many people that are doing it as well.
I was in awe a lot. Like, I just kind of had a lot of like out-of-body moments where it was just like all these people racing together, and especially we started at like 5 or 6 in the morning, so we saw the sunrise. I was like, this could not be more perfect. So many moments where I just wanted to like take my phone out, take a picture, and like I just want to soak this in.
They've got people cheering you on. The event organizers are amazing. The sponsorships are incredible. They have a ton of food available for you so you can keep going at the rest stops. The volunteers make it a really special event all around. There's one part of the ride that really sticks out to me. You're coming up a big hill, and they've got signs on the side of the street with children who have faced cancer, who have passed away. And you kind of look at those signs and you realize you're doing something a lot bigger than yourself.
Even when I got to the finish line, just seeing the people at the finish line, they don't know me, I don't know them, but they're like cheering so hard, and that was really special.
You've got people that have survived cancer that are wearing t-shirts saying thank you, holding up signs, so it's a really remarkable experience when you do cross the finish line. Abby riding in the Pan Mass, it speaks volumes to the type of person that she is. And it's very important, too, to have something outside of hockey. You know, hockey's not your identity, so something you can put your time and energy into that's bigger than yourself is very important. For her to kind of take this on and to do the Pan Mass, I think is a really cool and significant part of our culture at Northeastern.
I think it's just really fun to have hobbies outside of hockey. I really enjoy biking, and I know Abby has gotten really into it. She's on like her third bike now.
It's so important to have an outlet because after college, after hockey, life continues on, and so I feel like having something else, biking is something where it's almost lit as like a gateway for other physical challenges. Find something that you love to do, and I love to bike.
As I've watched Alex, you can tell looking at him that he has that focus, that dedication, that expectation of being a success.
I'm always proud to put that jersey on. I'm honestly honored to represent my country.
That's our culture, is to have the uncomfortable conversations and be comfortable in the uncomfortable.
I think it was the best day of my life. I've never really won anything like that before. I've never thrown my gloves on the ice like that.
Like, no doubt in my mind, she is so strong and nothing was going to stop her.
When Rafael Devers got over to third, it was kind of just awesome. I've been watching him for years now, and like he's one of my favorite players.
I'm sure there was a day Kat thought, I'm never going to be able to play soccer again.
For me, this has just been a really good fit. My family is from this area. My wife's family is from this area. And Northeastern's never given me a reason why I would look anywhere else.
Back at the Cabot Center, and Northeastern volleyball coach Lenica Vasquez in attendance for this one, as she's seen a very entertaining start to the CAA season. 35-33, Delaware leading Northeastern with John Avino and Mike Puzangara. I'm Alex Vispoli, and John, it was Delaware that stormed out at the beginning of the second quarter. A 9-1 start to the quarter, and that built up an 11-point lead.
Yeah, we had a back-and-forth moment of the first quarter where both teams started to get their offenses going. Delaware really established themselves, as you mentioned, early in the second quarter, jumped out to the big lead, and they've really been riding that lead since the midway point of the quarter. They got up by as many as 11 when it was 27-16, but after that point, Northeastern started to find some buckets, started to find some rhythm at the offensive end of the floor. They end the half by holding Delaware to no field goals over the last 5.5 minutes, and the Huskies still trailing by 2. That gives you a good idea of how well Delaware did to build up that lead early on. We'll see if they can kick things back into gear here or if it continues to trend the same way it has for the Huskies.
The Hens missed their last 8 shots. That dropped their field goal percentage down to where you see it, but they have dominated Northeastern with the boards and thus the second chance opportunities. If there's a downside for Delaware, it's that they just have not taken good care of the basketball. Otherwise, this lead would be much bigger.
Yeah, and I mentioned a lot of those turnovers have been on travels or balls that have been thrown out of bounds. They haven't exactly been live ball turnovers, so I think if you can cut down some of those for the Blue Hens, continue to find the offense that gave you success in that first half, that you'll be more than okay here. But Northeastern made things awfully interesting there right at the end of the half, and we'll see if they can continue that wave.
The third member of our crew, Mike Puzingara, was able to catch up with the coaching staffs for both teams. What did you hear at halftime, Mike?
Yeah, guys, for Delaware, you hit it. They want to limit the turnovers, and they also want to limit Northeastern offense in transition. And for the Huskies, that transition offense is something that they really like. So that's something they're going to be looking to do a bit more, push the pace a bit here in the second half. They also liked the man defense that they went to late in the first half. They're going to mix things up on defense, but they liked when they did that, and that helped limit second chance opportunities for the Blue Hens.
I figure more opportunities for Darren Erdwan to steer the ship and make some of the plays that we saw in that highlight package, where she's either making a really nifty pass or taking the ball to the basket herself.
Yeah,
see how that plays out.
Excuse me, Alex, done it a couple times tonight. The thing about Darren right now, I believe she is really excelling inside the paint. She has knocked down a 3. However, she's 4 for 4 when she drives the basketball, gets inside the arc. We'll see if she continues to try to penetrate.
Bristol working on Sconyers. Gets it stripped by Sunback, gets it right back, but misses under the basket. Tough defense played by the 6'2" Clark Sconyers from Queens. Here's Chloe Wilson, who led the Blue Hens with 10 first half points. Sunback making her college debut tonight. Mia Yanagasio was in the starting lineup. Shot clock down to 7. Sconyers was fouled by Bristol.
Well, Deja did a good job to stay out of foul trouble in that opening half. Really everybody on the floor, nobody picked up more than 2 fouls, but Bristol a quick one here in the second half, and I don't think she loved the call as they were trying to feed up over the top.
3 ball, Wilson out of the inbounds. That's 13 for Chloe Wilson. And Delaware ends that skid where they had missed their last 8 shots of the first half. And a foul away from the basketball against Delaware.
It was over 6 minutes between field goals, 6 minutes of game time for Delaware between field goals, and that knockdown to start this second half. Right off the inbound. You can't get lost like that on the inbound. Shouldn't have a shooter like that able to spot up on an inbound pass.
That foul was on Sconyers, her 3rd, as Bats in and out. Boone shuffles her way through the defense and making it look too easy. Timeout taken by Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd. Didn't like the defense by her team in the way that this second half has started. Just a minute 15 in, Delaware has all 5 points since the break and leads by 7. Sydney Boone's second field goal, forcing the early TO. All-time meeting number 66 between Northeastern and Delaware. The Blue Hens have had the decisive advantage, but Northeastern snapped an 8-game Delaware winning streak in this series in their last meeting back in February. It was right here at the Cabot Center. Delaware won earlier in Newark in early February, and Northeastern had a little bit of a run. How about this, though? There's one way to show the foul that you thought should have been called or not called, but Sarah Jenkins very hands-on.
Yeah.
Deja Bristol leaves the shot short out of the timeout. Northeastern's missed a couple from in close. Delaware has scored the first 5 points since halftime. Yana Gassio, who's looking to make it 8. Huskies did have a good run in the last decade against Delaware as Erdwan with the lefty floater gets Northeastern's first points. From 2016 to 2020, Northeastern went 6-3 against Delaware after the Blue Hens had won 29 of the previous 30.
Yeah, if you look at the series history as a whole, you see anomalies sometimes. 47-18 is lopsided, almost a 30-game difference there, and largely in part the 29 games you just mentioned is the difference in the win totals there.
Delaware 5-point lead. Wilson on the drive, can't hit it, Bats the rebound. Bats to the freshman Kelise making her first start. Visa left wide open, knocks it down. Maddie Visa's second 3 of the game.
I'm not sure how Jalen Bats caught that ball and made that pass look as easy as she did, but it led to a wide open look for Visa. That's just a knockdown.
Bats nearly knocked it away. Sconiers recovers. Sun back. Into the corner, Yanagacio knocked away. Erdwan on the deck pops it into Bristol's hands. Fancy handiwork there by Deja Bristol and Darren Erdwan.
It was like hot potato there for Erdwan, trying to get rid of it quickly. Bristol hung on to it, and then once she got it to Kelise, Erdwan said, slow it down.
Huskies a chance to tie or take the lead, and a tie-up will give the ball to Delaware. Great effort by Sydney Boone. Put her mitts on that ball and was able to hold on enough. Check out Jalen Bats with the dish, and there were 2 options on that play.
She makes a play every game that I say to myself, I'm not sure how she did that all in one motion to handle that high pass, but then also have the awareness to find one of the 2 opening shooters out there, and Maddie Visa is a pretty good option if she's open.
After committing 21 turnovers combined in the first half, we haven't seen any in the first 3.5 minutes of the second half. As Kelise, tough luck foul.
It's offensive.
Oh, it's offensive. She hit the deck, and Chloe Wilson called for her second.
Yeah, Sunback asking for clarification. Here's another look. I guess Wilson started moving again there, and right before she set that screen, he saw the left leg start to move once again.
And now an offensive foul on Bats, so Kelise avoided her 3rd foul, but Bats gets her 3rd immediately thereafter.
And Jalen Bats looking over at Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd after the play. Another look. Oh, maybe sliding a little bit backwards, but I didn't see as much movement there.
I agree. So back-to-back turnovers on the offensive fouls on cue. Boone drives left, kick out, Wilson passes up the 3, drives, leaves it short, but she was fouled. I think they're gonna get Kiefer. And Orlai Kiefer whistled for her second. Wayland, Massachusetts native. Family just loves Northeastern. Her father in the Northeastern Hall of Fame is a rower.
Good drive there by Wilson. She had the option to maybe take the 3 on the catch there, but saw she had enough room to make a fake and blow by to the basket. Ends up getting rewarded with the trip to the line here.
Free throws. And this is Chloe Wilson, who's up to 14 points, preseason honorable mention all conference. And for a player who hadn't played in the conference, that's notable that she had the attention based on what she did at Fairleigh Dickinson when she was the night's best player. Was a 17-point per game score, 7 rebounds. How about this? 229 attempts at the free throw line last year.
Yeah, she carved up the NEC, and I think a lot of people took notice when she transferred into the CAA and said, you know what, this is going to transfer over, and so far it has.
Sydney Boone, that'll transfer. The former Richmond Spider knocks down her first 3, and Delaware in an instant is up by 7. Erdwan, the answer, it's there! Darren Erdwan up to 16 points herself.
Well, the burden she's going to bear for this team offensively some nights with so many scorers not available to them. She's picked it up here a little bit. 16 points for her. 16 of the 41.
Demeke in and out. And then Aduo gets the bouncing ball. Huskies have never led in this game. They've had a couple of opportunities to grab the lead as they'll stay Northeastern basketball. And with 4:49 to go in the third quarter, Northeastern is sticking around. Delaware still on top, 45-41. Well, there are a lot of differences between these two teams coming into the season. Northeastern brought back almost everybody, just Jemiah Braxton, the only difference maker who did not return to the Huskies. Delaware, meanwhile, for the second consecutive year, replaced about half of its roster. Now, the big difference is that Northeastern has new coach and Delaware has the same coach as last year.
Yeah, and what's interesting about the Northeastern situation with hiring a new head coach, and so often in today's game you see a lot of players transferring, but I remember talking to Coach Edwards-Lloyd at the beginning of the season, and she talked about these players wanting to stay together for one another, and I think that's a huge thing. They got accustomed to playing with one another, and it became obviously a very successful season, and they want to build on that here this year. Now, we've also mentioned tonight that there's been a couple of missing players for each side, so those numbers that you saw in that graphic, maybe not holding up as true as they were at the beginning of the season, but the point is that Northeastern's got a roster that had a very good season, fully intact here this year.
Yeah, no Asha Parker, no Jemima Motema, a couple of regular starters not available for the Huskies today. Delaware also down a couple of key contributors. Here's Kelly's on the drive, offensive rebound, Bristol, and she'll go to the free throw line. Sconyers had picked up a foul previously, had to come out of the game. That foul by Sconyers was her 4th.
It's number 31, Deja Bristol.
And now a foul here on Mays Prince. That's her 3rd, and for two teams that only had 4 bench players available each. Fouls starting to become an issue, particularly for Delaware.
Yeah, we'll see how long Sconyers stays on the bench with those 4 fouls. But you can't have any more start to pile up here. It could become a trend here at the end of the game.
Second time tonight, Deja Bristol's gone 1 of 2 at the free throw line. 3-point game. Boone, kick out, 3-ball, Wilson. And it's been a duel between Chloe Wilson and Darren Erdwan. That's 18 for Wilson. Erdwan is 16, and Delaware is back up by half a dozen.
3 makes on 4 attempts from deep for Wilson as well.
Erdwan can't get the runner, and this is out off the Huskies.
That was Erdwan's first miss inside the paint or inside the arc. Had made all of her previous 2-point baskets. She's so good at getting inside and either dishing late or finding a high percentage look, and that time floated one up and in. Maybe thought she got fouled on the arm there. She looked over at the referee, but no call.
I'll correct myself. Earlier I said that Northeastern hadn't led all night. They did lead 6-4 in the early moments of this game as nobody was on Dariana Howard. And she gets her first bucket of the 3rd quarter. Delaware back up by 8.
High percentage, easy looks.
Bristol on the find from Batts.
Jalen Batts is so good at so many different things that you sleep on her passing ability sometime, but she's thrown a couple of really on-target feeds tonight, and that time, perfect setup for Bristol.
Mays Prince, Wilson leaves it off. Howard passed up the long 2 and throws it right into the hands of Arwan. Visa back to Erdwan. Slips it to Jalen Batts. Visa on the move. Nifty dish, and Bristol cashes in.
Maddie Visa, not a player that's going to take a ton of 2s.
Boone way off on the triple.
And that last time down the floor, she made a really nice decision there at the very end of that drive. Just bounce one inside. Huskies have the game back to 4 once again.
Erdwan, off balance 3 off the window. Maybe a bit of a hasty shot there as Northeastern has been chasing this game seemingly from the start. And really, before the start, they were down 1-0 before the opening tip on a technical foul free throw.
Yeah, it's a great metaphor for the way this game's played out. Just right there, can't quite do it.
Mays Prince calls her own number and gets her own miss. Boone marked by Killis. She'll pull it back out. Starting to get loud inside the Cabot Center. Wilson fouled on her way to the basket. And if this is on Batts, this would be number 4. And it will be Jalen Batts' 4th. Every game she's played in this season, now 6 this year, she's had 4 or more personal fouls. And imagine she's going to come out, or like Kiefer you see there, creeping to the scorer's table.
Yeah, she was looking over at Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd and saying, let me ask first. I think she's trying to get the explanation on it first. It's not going to matter. They called it on her, so either way, her head coach has to get her out there. She's still pleading her case with Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd, but as we talked about earlier, this is something that Jalen has had to deal with, and you mentioned it just a moment ago, too. Every game she's played, and she seems to pile these up, and you love the energy and the passion that she plays with, but sometimes it gets to the point where it can cost you fouls and missed rebounds or tipped balls.
Chloe Wilson hit that first free throw, gives her a new season high, and Northeastern can't reel in the bouncing ball, so Delaware will keep it off the miss.
Yeah, it's a tough break right there. That ball had been tipped by a couple of Huskies. Kiefer the last.
Demeke passed up the 3, takes the 2, and Northeastern does get the rebound. They've been out-hustled on the boards 30-18 tonight. They've been -10 in rebounding margin during their 5-game losing streak. And now Erdwan draws the foul. This time she does get the whistle.
It's 5 on Delaware, so this is going to send her to the line.
That's just the first on Sydney Boone.
Whistles have picked up here a bit in the second half. It seemed to be trending. Each team had one quarter where they picked up more fouls in the first half, but this half, so far in this quarter, we've had 9 fouls, 5 against the Huskies, 4 for UDel.
And you figured the intensity picks up. Again, conference game. Squads will play each other a little bit later in the season. Erdwan up to 17 points. They are slated to play at the Bob Carpenter Center on January 26th.
3 weeks from today, a quick turnaround for a second game against one of your conference opponents.
Lorelei Kiefer fights for the jump ball. Northeastern will keep possession after the miss by Erdwan.
You love to see that too if you're Coach Edwards-Lloyd, because the moment ago, Kiefer was the one who had the ball tipped right off her hands. It comes right back the other end and able to get it back on the jump ball call.
Battle under the basket. Now Sydney Boone's going to be whistled for another, and that'll send Darren Erdwan back to the free throw line.
Erdwan's hot too. She was calling for that ball from Kelly's, and Kelly's did not feed her. Ends up getting the foul call anyway. So here's another look. Watch this. Erdwan's down there. She's making herself present, and you can see she's really emphatically saying, "Give me the ball." And even after the foul was called, clapping and telling Yersi, "Hey, get me that sooner and maybe I'll have a chance of a three-point play." But instead she gets fouled off ball, heads to the line for the 2.
Erdwan's a pretty versatile player. You don't see a lot of the post-up game with her.
Yeah.
But she liked the matchup. And now she's got 19 points. It's a 2-point game with 100 seconds to go in the third quarter. Wilson thought about it. Kicks out. Demeke well off on the 3. Offensive rebound and a foul on Bristol. That will send Michelle Ojo to the free throw line. 3rd personal on Bristol.
It's a great box out by Ojo, who see it hit a little bit high with the ball there because it was an air ball she was trying to collect, and then good positioning, but Bristol commits the foul. Now Ojo heads to the line.
Delaware at the free throw line tonight, 11 of 13. They are a good free throw shooting team. 73% for the season.
Ojo now 3 for 3 at the line herself tonight. Those are her first 3 attempts from the line this season.
Originally from London, now makes her home in Virginia Beach. Looking very comfortable at the free throw line too.
Yeah, she's having a great season, 100%.
Game 2 of the season for her. Kiefer is given space, but Northeastern wants to try and get into its offense here. Into the corner, Visa, kickback, good recovery, Delaware. Erdwan, Kelly's passes up the shot into the lane and banks it in. Yersi Kelly's career high, tying 9 points in her first career start.
Yeah, in her first CAA game too. You love to see it from the rookie performing when the lights are on, and that's a big hit there. Gets the game once again within 2. Huskies have been right there the entire game, it feels like, since they got down 11 and grinded their way back in.
Sunback in her college debut slips it nicely to Ojo, who somehow finds a way to get that ball in. She's got 8 points.
And I'll tell you what, Bristol's lucky she didn't get whistled there too. There's a little body bump from behind. Could have very easily been a 3-point opportunity.
6-second difference between shot clock and game clock. Visa to Kiefer just inside the free throw line, and a foul on the rebound going against the Blue Hens.
And Wilson arguing her point right away, but this will send Deja Bristol to the line. A couple more important free throws upcoming for her. She's split a couple of pairs already today.
3rd personal on Chloe Wilson. You know, Wilson, really an amazing story. When she was a freshman in high school at Holy Trinity High School, she led her team in scoring and rebounding. You know, that's amazing in and of itself as a freshman, but it was only her 2nd year ever of playing the sport, and she was already at that level.
And you hear stories about that like that sometimes, and it really just doesn't compute in your head. You know, you hear about people making it to the pros after only playing a year or two of high school, you know, ball, whatever sport it may be. It's just an incredible story.
3-point game after Bristol hit 1 of 2. 3 seconds to go. There goes Boone, slides under to bank it in. And Sydney Boone gives Delaware a 5-point lead headed to the fourth quarter. And we've got a barn burner on our hands in the CAA opener tonight at the Cabot Center. Delaware up 5.
CAA champions are built by commitment, dedication, and courage. CAA champions live on the court, on the pitch, on the track, on the field, and in the pool. CAA champions live on FloSports.
This is where everything starts. It's a place of new beginnings, new opportunities, and a new identity. We are the Coastal Athletic Association, and from the beaches to the city streets, we are united to succeed at an elite level. In competition, in our communities, in our lives. This is the tide that lifts us, the fire that burns inside all of us. This is our moment, our new chapter. We are the CAA, and we are united in excellence.
My name is Tremaine Shaw, and I'm the head coach in the cross country and track and field programs at Northeastern University. I cannot stress enough how important it is for female athletes to be given the supports, to be given the opportunities. I was really impressed by the commitment City of Boston Credit Union has made to female student athletes. The more exposure that's given, the more a young woman will be influenced to continue down this path.
City of Boston Credit Union, today's teammates, tomorrow's leaders.
Welcome back to the Cabot Center, where we've got a good one on our hands. Delaware leads Northeastern 57-52. Mike Kuzengair here. Thanks for joining us tonight on Nesson. Earlier this week, Northeastern spent the day volunteering at Community Servings. It's a local nonprofit in Jamaica Plain that provides meals to those struggling with chronic or critical illnesses. And Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd emphasized that as something that's key for her team to be leaders on and off campus, giving back to the community, especially during the holiday season. It also helps give the Huskies some valuable perspective. We've touched a lot today about Northeastern's 5-game losing streak, the injuries the Huskies are dealing with, but Edwards-Lloyd said it's easy to get stuck in a kind of woe is me mindset because of everything going on the court, that they need to remember how fortunate they are off the court with all the amenities that come with being a D1 basketball player. It also helps them establish themselves as people within the community, not just basketball players. Guys, back up to you.
Yeah, she talked about how that is really a part of building leadership. And it's about more than, as you said, what goes on the court as Northeastern commits the foul. First possession of the fourth quarter, and Delaware draws the foul on Bristol. That'll be her fourth. So notable there, but right now, Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd trying to navigate her team through this first conference game of the season.
That's a tough one there. It did look like she got her on the left arm a little bit, but the contest from Bristol is that she's going straight up there, and I mean, it's always so tough as a defender when you find yourself going straight up, but oftentimes that driver can cause the contact, and that's what happened there. So you've got two important post-type players. Bats, of course, can play a couple different positions, but they both have 4 fouls.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if we put both Bristol and Clark Sconiers on the spot there when we talked about them to open our broadcast, both of them on the bench with 4 fouls.
Yeah, they must have been feeling the extra heat that we were putting on them.
Ojo up to 9 points in her first extended playing time of the season. And it's a 6-point Delaware lead They've led by as many as 11 tonight. Visa gets it poked away into the hands of Demeke. On to Wilson. Wilson stops and draws the foul. On the floor, that does not count. But it's already been the best scoring game of the season for Chloe Wilson. That's the third on Kelly's, who picked up 2 fouls in the first quarter.
That little bobble there actually helped her out because Visa just blew right by, and then Kelly's came in late and got her on the body before the shot.
Boone can't get the reverse, and it's knocked out of bounds again. This is the second time that it's gone off the hands of Kiefer there on the baseline.
She was trying to vie that ball was tipped, and Artigan is trying to say the same thing, and now the two officials get together and they will talk about it. Kiefer was saying, no, not again, it didn't happen again. And Artigan backed her up, and then you had the other official come down and talk it out.
And we're all disappointed we don't have a 5-minute delay for replay review.
Yeah, we're all disappointed about that, holding up our Friday nights.
That's why we come to the games. Minute gone by, fourth quarter. Kelly's. Kiefer. Erdwan, ball just always in her hands, getting things done with a lefty finger spin. Erdwan up to 21 points. Matches what she did against the Terriers. Now Sunback, first career field goal for Grace Sunback. And it's a big one. Delaware up by 7.
Well, that's got to feel good for her. 7th attempt. She didn't have the free throw make early in this game to get herself her first point, but that's her first field goal make, first 3-point make, and extends the lead back to 7 once again.
Kelly's on the drive, kick out. Visa has hit a couple of threes tonight. Visa just her third 2-point field goal attempt of the season, and it's no good. And then out of bounds, Ojo takes it out of bounds and then runs over assistant coach James Spinelli. He's gonna shake it off though. Jalen Batts amused by the proceedings. It'll be Northeastern basketball. Let's take a look.
Oh, this will be a good look right here. Ball bobbling away. Everybody in real time sees it happening, and then boom, down goes Spinelli.
Really, she held herself up nicely. Just took out the chair from below him.
And Jalen Batts thought that was the funniest thing ever. That was a great replay of her laughing.
She's champing at the bit, looking to get back in the game with 4 fouls. Kelly's on the drive, gets fouled. And that'll be on Wilson, her 4th personal, and they are piling up for key players on both teams.
Yeah, it seems like there's been more of a observation this half on the physical play because the whistle has been blown more, and as you mentioned, the intensity certainly picking up, and that was definitely a foul with the body there. It looked like Wilson maybe got the ball clean, which is why she reacted that way, but even her head coach, Sarah Jenkins, telling her right now she comes off the floor, you got her with the body on the way up. That is a foul.
And it's tough when you're giving up 7 inches for Kelly's to, if you're not going to get the block, you do a good job of selling the contact. Kelly's with 10 points, first time in her college career. She'll try and get Northeastern a little closer, but the Huskies have not been great at the free throw line tonight. They're just 12 of 18. Sunbeck just hit a 3 a moment ago, but not this time. It'll stay with the Blue Hens.
Once again, Kiefer there trying to vie for the rebound. That time she looked like she was boxed out a bit.
Erdwan pokes that ball out of bounds. She is just contesting absolutely everything.
She's been everywhere tonight. When she's on the floor as often as she has been tonight, which I don't know if she's come out of the game, Alex. They've said she's played 32 minutes by stats readings and just under 8 to go. So I think she's been out there the whole time, if not for a very short breather. And that energy level has not faded at all.
Ojo on the drive through 2 defenders. Well defended by Aduwu and Kiefer. Kiefer may get credit for the block. Erdwan drives to the bucket, scores, and 1.
I think even she is wondering how that ball went in. A little bit of a reckless drive there, but it all works out for the Husky point guard. Flipped it up and in there, saw the defender in front of her, and when she gets up, you see the smile hit her face. Chance for a huge three-point play here.
Erdwan, season high, matching 23 points. The foul was on Howard. And make it a new season high, 24 for Erdwan. And the Huskies have cut it to a three-point game.
Need your best players to show out in the biggest games. CAA opener, what's Erdwan done? She's shown out.
Ojo on the drive, gets it through. Good defense by Aduwu.
Yeah, she was looking for the call as well, but a great job to finish in traffic by Ojo.
Visa. Erdwan marked by Boone. Visa kicks out Aduwu. Shovels it back off. Northeastern 7 to shoot. Erdwan, deep three. It's good! Darren Erdwan, career high, matching 27 points. And Northeastern's made it a 2-point game.
She has nearly half the Husky points and showing no signs of slowing down.
Delaware's always had an answer. They feed it off. Howard under the basket. She scores, and the foul. Dariana Howard, big bucket. And that's on Orelai Kiefer, her second. And Delaware a chance to get those 3 points that Erdwan scored right back.
You just said it, but they've had answer after answer. It doesn't seem to matter when the Huskies have had these big hits, because then you come right back down the floor with something like that. Howard's lit up, fired up. This fourth quarter is starting to feel like a playoff game a little bit with the intensity, how it's ratcheted up here a bit.
And it's no good. Lane violation, though, against Northeastern. Darren Erdwan.
Yeah, so we'll have to see if we can see that if we get a chance to look at it, but that's going to erase the miss there for Howard.
So second chance here for Howard, who's only 6 of 14 at the free throw line entering the day. And well, you look back at two things in this game. That free throw there and the free throw to start the game that Delaware got.
Yeah, there's been a couple of those interesting free throws that have played a factor now.
Here's a deflected pass, it's stolen. Sydney Boone, active hands. Boone off to Ojo, she'll drive and pick up the foul. Marion Turnbull into the game, commits her first. And Michelle Ojo, playing in just her second game of the season, has 11 points and a chance for 2 more.
Yeah, she might play in some more games after this one because she's been everywhere, and yet another drive here, taking things in her own hands, almost had a chance to finish that play anyway. She's met the line now a few times, 5 of 6 so far.
And Ojo continues her strong game at the free throw line. She was a 3-star recruit, according to ESPN. Went to George Washington, 1 year there, only played 9 games, and then played in 30 games last year, including a couple of starts. 13 for Ojo.
Well, Bats coming back in now with 4 fouls. Bristol continues to sit here, so perhaps a little bit of a let's get one out there for Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd, see how it goes, then eventually Bristol joins the fold as well.
It's really impressive what Delaware's done without Clark Sconyers on the floor for much of this second half. Bats on the drive, deflects off her hands and out of bounds. Gave a thumbs up to Maddie Visa on her way up the floor, as those two were trying to get on the same page whether or not there'd be a pass or a drive there.
Yeah, Visa was open on the wing there, and I think she thought that Bats was going to dish it there last second, but whether or not she was trying to, she lost the handle.
Ojo, smooth stroke. And Michelle Ojo matches her career high with 15 points. This is tipped out of bounds. It'll be Northeastern basketball, but you know, Northeastern, they were able to get that 3 from Erdwan, make it 63-61. And since then, it's been 7 straight points by the Hens.
Yeah, and they're closing in. Delaware is on what would be right around their largest lead. They led by 11 in that second quarter. They're at 9 now. The Huskies Still half a quarter, but you got to start cutting into this a bit again.
Kiefer off her fingertips and on the baseline. Poor time there for Northeastern to pick up its 12th turnover. And right now Delaware, boy, they have rolled with the punches. Whenever Northeastern, playing here at home, has had a run to get within shouting distance, Delaware's right there, and this is really commendable given the pieces that they're missing. They're without their elite leader, Tara Cousins, and also one of their most exciting freshmen, Andia Charisier.
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of basically a boxer having counter punches, essentially, and they just keep hitting you back.
3-ball, Demeke, it's good, and Delaware has its biggest lead.
Now you need to go if you're Northeastern. You look up at the clock, see 4.5 minutes and the largest lead for Delaware of the game.
Kiefer, right wing 3. Northeastern needed that, and the rebound by Sunbeck. Now it's Boone, quick trigger, short. Northeastern nearly turned that ball over. Erdwan in a good spot, and she'll draw the foul. Chance for the Istanbul native to extend her career high after the timeout. Delaware has got on a 10-0 run. They lead by 12, trying to put away conference win number 1 here on the road in Boston. Last March, Darren Erdwan scored a career-high 27 points against Stony Brook. She has done it again here tonight, and it's been more than just scoring. You saw the nifty passing, and she's done it in a variety of ways when it comes to scoring. Drives, 3 balls, mid-range, and she'll have an opportunity to extend the career high at the free throw line in just a couple of minutes, but Darren Erdwan has willed Northeastern into this being a game with key players out.
Yeah, you can't emphasize enough what she's brought to the table tonight for them. Nearly half their points, 27 of the 61. And there you take a look at some of the numbers as well. I expect that point per game number to start to trend up as we get to CAA play here. Last year, she averaged 15 points per game, and we've made a lot about some of the missing players in action. I think, you know, you might not expect 27 points every night from her, but I do think that you could see her become a bigger, consistent scoring threat.
And she does have a new career high, and that ends a 10-0 scoring run by the University of Delaware. Erdwan is up over 20 points now for the 3rd time in the last 4 games. Knowing that her team needs it She's 1 away from 30, but more importantly for her team, they're down by 10. That was after Northeastern on an Erdwan 3 had gotten it to a 2-point game as Batts pokes this out of bounds.
That was a good hand there by Batts. This resets Delaware having to get the ball up the floor a bit now. Only 15 seconds on that shot clock.
Batts and Deja Bristol on the floor with 4 fouls. Ojo, she's been immense in this fourth quarter. Now it's Boone, 2 seconds to shoot, has to hoist one up. Nearly hit it, offensive rebound, Sunbeck, and pulled in by Batts. Northeastern gets it off the turnover, but then too strong, and the Huskies get bailed out as Delaware touched that ball out of bounds.
I'm telling you, you love the hustle from Jalen Batts and the motor that she plays with. That's an example of what I was talking about earlier, maybe getting a little bit of ahead herself there. And she tried to force that pass very hard, as you said, on the bounce to Erdwan with a couple of UDel Blue Hens there. Luckily for her, it ended up getting tipped out.
3 subs come in, including Clark Sconyers, who it's been about a half hour of real time since she's been back out there on the floor, it feels like. Erdwan lost the dribble, and Boone came right into her lap. Wilson to Boone, left wing 3, and that might be curtains.
That was cold. This Delaware team has just knocked down the shots that have mattered in this game when they've mattered most, and they've got this lead at 13. That's their largest.
9 3-pointer. And the Huskies might have to start hoisting a few of their own. Kiefer to Visa. Inside Batts, working on Sconyers. Fall-away jump shot. It just has not been her night shooting. 1 of 6 from the floor. Mays Prince pass deflected. Wilson, it falls down, and a tie-up will give it back to Northeastern.
Well, it's now or never time for the Huskies. 2:37 left, and you've got to find a way to get quick buckets. That last possession that Batts ended up taking the fadeaway on was a long possession. You take another look at Boone just raining it in. They have done this time and time again here in the second half. 9 makes from 3-point range. It's a Delaware team that usually makes about 6.5 threes per game.
12 points for Sydney Boone. You know, style of play at Richmond maybe didn't suit her all that much. She was there for a couple of years, only started 1 out of 58 games that she played, but this was a McDonald's All-American nominee when she was in high school. So has always had the talent as Visa knocks one down, her third.
And that hit right there, humongous. Still a 10-point lead, but at least there you can breathe a sign of relief, and you got signs of life.
Delaware will try and milk some clock, force the Huskies to play defense. Wilson has had a big night, draws the foul. And Chloe Wilson will go to the free throw line to try and add on to her 19 points.
It's against Erdwan, so right there on the drive, you can see the bump that caused the contact initially, tried to finish the play. But between Wilson, Boone, Ojo, they've all had their moments tonight, but talk about a group stepping up in the CAA opener, and they've got themselves in position to win this game.
And Wilson in particular has stepped up. We mentioned earlier she hadn't scored a lot the last 2 games. She got off to a great start, 15 points a game in her first 5 games with Delaware this season. But since then, she'd only been averaging 8 points per contest. Well, tonight at the free throw line, sinks 2 and has 21, the most in a Delaware uniform for her. In transition, Bristol, the quick 2.
Wilson also with a double-double tonight. That was a much-needed 2 and a quick 2 as well for Northeastern. Got to have a stop here, though.
And again, Delaware figures to use as much of the shot clock as they can. Boone kicks out. Wilson open for a 3. Not this time as Sconyers goes over the top and knocks it out of bounds. No foul. but Sconiers took a big hit.
Yeah, good to see her get right back up there. That Delaware coaching staff with Sarah Jenkins trying to figure out how to close this game out under a minute and a half left. 10-point lead on the board.
Kelly's against a taller defender. Visa, another three, airballed it. Kelly's saves it, but stepped on the baseline before she launched herself. And Delaware just over a minute from putting this one into the win column and saying sayonara to the 5-game losing streak.
Yeah, it was going to be one of these teams tonight that was able to get themselves back in the win column, and Delaware has done everything tonight to put themselves in position. You talk about all the answers they've had for the Husky runs tonight. Northeastern has not led in this game since it was 6-4. However, they've been within 2 points multiple times, just never able to get over the hump.
Delaware takes its first timeout of the night as they try and get themselves organized. Leading by 10 and about to put this one to bed here in a one-game trip for them. They do not have 2 road games like they often do in the CAA. This is a squad, though, that is certainly used to going to the postseason, extending their season beyond the CAA. You see what they've done, NCAA tournaments, WNITs. Remember the great Elena Deladon era, a little more than a decade ago, and then more recently when Natasha Adair was the head coach, brought them to back-to-back national postseasons. And Sarah Jenkins was an assistant on that coaching staff, comes back to become the head coach, and she says her team is getting their footing. May not have all their pieces available tonight, but is in good shape, of course, to start this season. Last year, we got off to a great start, and then we faded at the end. We're hoping for the opposite this season.
Yeah, it's a trend that they're hoping to reverse this year after the non-conference portion of the season. They went 4-8. There's a quick foul is committed here by Kelly's. And, I mean, for this Delaware team, you talk about the future as well. They will be out of the CAA within a couple of years here, moving to Conference USA, so it'll be interesting to see if that sustained success they've had for so long is able to transfer over to yet another conference.
Well, they take a lot of pride at the University of Delaware in their women's basketball program, so you can figure that they're going to be able to carry the success into the next conference that they go to. But certainly they still have unfinished business in the CAA. As free throws for Nakaya Mays Prince, she makes the first out of Example Academy in Chicago. As for Northeastern, Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd said, just changing the mentality. It's not one of those situations where we have to, think, oh, maybe we'll have somebody back for this game and then we can do. They have to approach it from a totally different mindset, game to game, that they're not going to be able to be at full strength this season, and adjust from there.
Yeah, she mentioned both herself and the players are going to have to accept that, and there already has been a little bit of that as Erdwan rains in another 3 here, and what a night she's had.
32 for Darren Erdwan, career high for the senior from Istanbul. It's going to come in a losing cause, but certainly a wonderful effort by Erdwan.
In a game that she's played every minute in as well, trying to really do all she can to will this team. Here's another look at that last knockdown that gets the Huskies up over the 70-point mark. But you'd figure Delaware at this point is in great shape and maybe another free throw or 2 away from sealing this thing up for good.
Boone at the free throw line. One of 3 players in double figures. She's got 14 points, and it was that 3-pointer that she hit about a minute and a half ago or so that seemed to spell doom for Northeastern in this one as the Huskies take a timeout.
Yeah, they'll talk things over here, and if there's ever a last gasp for them, they would have to inbound this quickly, get a 3. You need some help, obviously, the other end with Delaware missing free throws. But we'll see if they can't draw up a play to get some points on the board. As you take a look at some of the scores from around the first night of the Coastal Athletic Association.
Yeah, no, start to see where everyone gets sorted out. UNC Wilmington was picked to finish last in the conference. Hofstra, of course, having their way with them tonight. Towson was the preseason favorite and maybe a little bit closer than some expected. A 5-point win on the road against Elon. And Stony Brook, I mean, what a season Stony Brook has had. You know, at least going into yesterday, they had a net ranking of number 55, the highest ever by a team out of the CAA. And now 11-1 this season. Maddie Visa can't hit the triple. Bristol the offensive rebound as the clock ticks toward 30 seconds. Erdwan throws it into the arms of Demeke, and then a wrestling takedown. Jalen Batts getting in on it. It's a jump ball, Delaware possession.
That'll just about do it there. Erdwan did all she could to try to get free. Timeout taken here by Sarah Jenkins. Can't bring him with her, so she might as well call it. But it looks like she's going to give her friend Priscilla Edwards-Lloyd a not-so-warm welcome to the CAA. Obviously, Delaware happy to get this first win on the board, but they were picked towards the top, and this is going to be a good win for them. Going up against the Huskies team was also picked right there, got a couple first-place votes.
So Delaware up by 11 with possession, shot clock off. And a good night here for the Blue Hens, despite the efforts of that woman, Darren Erdwan. 32 points for the Istanbul native. An electric performance from her, but unfortunately needed to be relied upon. Too much heavy lifting. As Delaware breaking through, cracking the 80-point margin. A steal by Erdwan. Visa for three. Well short, Kaliz missed the putback, but Batts is right there. And it's a 9-point game.
Timeout.
So Delaware, you said it, can't take him with you. They had all 4 timeouts going into the final minute of this game. And you know, for a team up by double digits, you figure they might not use any timeouts tonight. They've used 3 of their 4. And they'll talk over. This will be a full timeout as well. And you know, maybe they can plot, can we get more to join the Hen family? You got Delaware and Pomona-Pitzer, which, you know, Pomona-Pitzer's 2 schools sharing an athletic department, the only schools in the country with hens as mascots.
Who are you kidding? You're glad they called this last time out, because that gets us the flock of 2. I would love to see a couple more teams join the Hen family, maybe switch the mascot, change over. It's a great name.
The fun part for the University of Delaware is the men's teams, of course, also go by the same nickname. They're the only Division I men's team that go with a female nickname. So great representation.
Absolutely. It's something cool, something you probably will see more of as teams begin to change mascots or do change mascots over the course. It doesn't have a ton, but when it does, be cool to see more of that. But the Blue Hens are in control of this game by 9. They're going to get out of here with that first CAA win, and now they get to head home for a couple of games. A big one coming up with Stony Brook a week from Sunday. That's going to be a big one to circle here in the early season for Delaware for sure.
Delaware has not hit a field goal in the last 3 minutes and 2 seconds, but is in firm control, up by 9. Inbounded to Sconiers, and she gets fouled, and somebody's fouling out of this game. It's either Batts or Bristol.
Yeah, and Jalen, what a selfless teammate she is. She took the foul. I'm not sure the ref would have disagreed with her anyway, but she said, give it to me, and they gave it to her. And on brand to some degree, Jalen Batts is going to foul out of this game. Deja Bristol will stay on the floor for now.
Number 11,
so Sconiers, who was the first one to get to 4 fouls, will apparently not foul out tonight, as she's at the free throw line, and on a night where maybe they were expecting to get her to lead the offensive performance. Interestingly, it was a player who had only played 1 game all season in Michelle Ojo, who really had the role that Sconiers may have been tabbed for had it not been for the fouls.
Yeah, I think we certainly expected her to be more involved in the offense and only one official field goal attempt for her in this game. It's not going to matter, obviously. She does end up with 6 points on a few made free throws as well, but Delaware doesn't really care how they get the points. Obviously, it's showing their depth again, and to some degree, and how well they did tonight, and all the players they were able to have score. 37 bench points tonight for Delaware.
And a great response for Delaware after losing by 30 at home to Harvard to go on the road up to Boston, conference game, conference opener, and win by a margin. It's going to end up being 10 around there, depending on what happens in the final 6.8 seconds. But Sydney Boone back at the free throw line after Kiefer committed the foul. And Boone able to tack on a little bit more to her total. Gives her a 16-point night. Delaware up by 13 is Kaylees. Misses at the buzzer, and Delaware will walk out of the Cabot Center with a 13-point lead. And two head coaches who are among the best of friends share an embrace in their first ever matchup as head coaches against one another.
A little bit sweeter of a hug there for Sarah Jenkins, but all the more a great win here for Delaware. Northeastern showed a lot of fight. They continue to grind back. Erdwan with 32 points, and Delaware just found a way to keep on answering, eventually ends up with a 13-point victory here for themselves. It was a great overall performance, lots of depth. They didn't score a field goal over the last 3+ minutes, but didn't quite matter. And that's the highest scoring output for Delaware this season, 86 points.
Both teams were 25 of 57 shooting tonight, 44%. Delaware made 9 three-pointers. Northeastern made 8, and the difference at the free throw line, 27 of 30. As you mentioned, the free throw line disparity was the difference in this game, as you see the other categories separating the two. But Delaware starts 1-0, Northeastern 0-1 with still a long conference season to go.
Yeah, and these two teams will meet again in 3 weeks down in Newark, so you know the Huskies will circle that one on their calendar. But for now, they'll have to settle for an 0-1 start to the CAA season.
So Northeastern and Delaware came into this first matchup of 2024 on dueling 5-game losing streaks. Well, it had to end for one of them, and that proved to be the Blue Hens, snapping their 5-game skid to improve to 5-8 on the season, 1-0 in the CAA. Northeastern sees its losing streak reach 6 as they drop to 4-7, and of course 0-1 in the Coastal Athletic Association. Big thanks to our crew here at the Cabot Center, my broadcast partners John Avino and Mike Puzangara. For them, this is Alex Vespoli with the final score one last time in the CAA opener. It was Delaware over Northeastern by a final score of 86-73. But that'll do it for us here from Boston. So long from the Cabot Center, and enjoy the rest of your Friday nights. You've been watching CAA Women's Basketball on NESN.